The United Kingdom is sleepwalking into an economic disaster so total, so devastating, that it will make the 2008 financial crisis look like a minor inconvenience, a warm-up act. And the most terrifying part? Millions of British families have absolutely no idea what is about to hit them. While politicians argue over pocket change tax adjustments and the media obsesses over a celebrity's latest public dam-up, a perfect storm of systemic economic forces is gathering strength, ready to flatten household finances across the country. This isn't some distant possibility, it's happening right now. A triple threat of resurging, hidden inflation, a collapsing housing market, and mass employment annihilation is accelerating faster than even the most pessimistic economists predicted. What makes this so uniquely devastating is that the very institutions sworn to protect us, our government, our banks, are actively making the situation worse with policies that seem designed to transfer wealth from ordinary, working families to the ultra-wealthy at a pace we have literally never witnessed before in British history. This is the real story, the one you're not allowed to hear. And before we dive into exactly how bad things are about to get, if you feel this raw knot of anxiety in your stomach, that feeling that something is fundamentally wrong, you need to listen to this channel. This isn't just news, it's a financial warning. We are your source for the real UK economic news that the mainstream media is actively sanitizing, delivering the harsh, vital truth about what's truly happening to the British economy and the value of your life savings. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. In the coming months, staying ahead of these massive economic changes and protecting your family's future won't just be helpful, it could be the difference between surviving and losing everything. Most people have no clue that inflation is already roaring back with a vengeance, hidden behind carefully manipulated statistics that make everything seem fine on the surface. They tell you the rate is falling, but they've merely reclassified the way they measure the pain you feel every time you go to the supermarket. This isn't just statistical manipulation, it's a betrayal of your lived experience. Energy companies are quietly preparing to announce price increases that will add another $1 to the average household's annual bills, with wholesale gas prices already up 40% since the summer and electricity costs following the same terrifying trajectory. But here is the truly insidious part: food inflation never actually went away. It's just been tucked away in the data. Supermarket prices for basic, non-negotiable essentials, the bread, the milk, the eggs that keep your family fed, are up over 35% compared to just 2 years ago. And while your wages have been left standing still, everything you need to simply live is becoming more expensive at a rate that is completely unsustainable. The service sector, from basic car repairs to an essential haircut, is experiencing inflation rates above 6% that refuse to slow down. Think about that, every single thing that supports a normal life is getting proportionally more expensive than the income you rely on. What's even more disturbing is that the Bank of England knows this is happening, but they are absolutely paralyzed. They are trapped between two impossible options. If they raise interest rates to fight inflation, they will completely destroy the housing market and trigger a property crash. But if they don't, they let the real inflation rate, the one that reflects your family's reality at the checkout and on the bill, spiral completely out of control, easily running at close to 9% annually. That means your hard-earned money is losing nearly a tenth of its value, its purchasing power, every single year. You are being forced to run just to stay in the same place. This isn't just an economic pressure, this is a slow-motion strangulation of the family budget. But the price of a loaf is nothing compared to the death blow about to hit where you live. The housing market isn't just in crisis anymore. It's in complete, catastrophic free fall, and the speed of this collapse should terrify anyone who owns property or, more importantly, anyone who ever hopes to. Average house prices are now an obscene 12 times the average salary in most parts of the country, a ratio that is mathematically and historically impossible to sustain. This isn't a temporary dip, this is a structural break. Young people aren't just priced out temporarily, they are facing a future where home ownership is literally an impossibility unless they inherit property, creating a neo-feudal system where the circumstances of your birth determine your housing situation for life. The rental market, on the other hand, has become a humanitarian disaster. Families are forced to spend over 40% of their income just to keep a roof over their heads, and in the hyper-pressurized London and southeast regions, that figure rises to over 60% for many workers. These are not margins for saving, these are figures that guarantee poverty. And here's the truly catastrophic accelerant. We are witnessing the largest exodus of private landlords in British history, with over 300,000 rental properties being sold off in the last 18 months alone. This is not a market correction, it is a mass abandonment, simultaneously driving rents even higher due to shortage while reducing options for desperate tenants. The government's response. To make things demonstrably worse, accelerating the landlord exodus with new regulations and taxes while doing absolutely nothing to increase the housing supply that might actually help. What nobody is willing to talk about is that we are sprinting toward a situation where millions of people will literally have nowhere to live that they can afford, creating a homelessness crisis that will make the current tragedy look like a gentle inconvenience. The collapse of the housing dream is not just a financial disaster, it's a social and emotional one, crushing the hopes of an entire generation. And the system that was supposed to keep you afloat. It's been quietly pulling the plug on your stability for years. The employment statistics you see plastered on the news are a complete and utter fiction, carefully crafted to hide an unemployment crisis that is already quietly destroying millions of lives across Britain. Yes, the official unemployment rate looks low, but that is only because they completely ignore the 3.7 million people trapped in zero-hour contracts, a dark shadow workforce with no guaranteed income, no security, and no ability to plan their lives, forced to live hour to hour. The gig economy wasn't the promised land of flexibility, it is the architect of a new underclass of workers who are technically employed but simply cannot afford to live, surviving on a regular, unpredictable income that can vanish at a moment's notice. Simultaneously, artificial intelligence is tearing through middle-income, white-collar jobs at a speed nobody anticipated, with entire departments in banks, insurance companies, and even hospitals being replaced by cold, efficient software in real time. This isn't futuristic anxiety, it is happening right now. Recent graduates are facing their worst job market in generations, with over two-thirds working in jobs that don't even require the degree they sacrificed years and thousands of pounds to obtain, all while carrying a student debt load that will take decades to repay, if they ever can. And for the millions who rely on the public sector, traditionally a source of stable, reliable employment, mass cuts are being prepared that will eliminate up to 500,000 jobs over the next 2 years as the government desperately tries to balance budgets that are spiraling completely out of control. Manufacturing jobs continue their slow, painful fade as companies move operations overseas or shut down entirely, unable to compete in a global market where Britain has lost almost every advantage it once had. What makes this employment picture so utterly devastating is the nature of the jobs being created to replace those being lost. They pay significantly less, offer absolutely no security, and provide no discernible path to building a stable, middle-class life. It's a conveyor belt leading downward. Yet even the money you managed to save, that nest egg you sacrificed for, is being stolen from your bank account. While all this destruction unfolds on the surface, the soaring bills, the disappearing jobs, there's a silent wealth destroyer working in the background, actively obliterating the life savings of millions of British families who think they are being responsible. Your government and the major banks are effectively colluding in a massive, hidden theft through what they call negative real interest rates. This is simple. The minuscule interest you earn on your savings is so far below the true rate of inflation that you are literally losing purchasing power every single day you keep your money in the bank. They are penalizing you for saving. Furthermore, they are actively planning to slash ISA limits, destroying one of the last remaining tax-efficient ways ordinary people had to build a modest, long-term fund for their future. And let's not forget the freeze on tax allowances, a stealth tax designed to drag millions of working people into higher tax brackets without them earning a single penny more in real terms. It's the government giving itself an invisible pay rise at your family's expense, year after agonizing year. Your pension, that nest egg you've been carefully building for decades, is being systematically destroyed through this unholy combination of inflation, market manipulation, and regulatory changes that virtually guarantee you will retire poorer than your parents. The state pension age keeps rising while its value keeps falling, creating a generation of people who will be forced to work until they physically cannot, because retirement has become financially impossible. Even premium bonds and other supposedly safe, government-backed savings schemes are offering returns so pathetic that you are guaranteed to lose purchasing power over time. This is not mere incompetence, or bad luck. This is a deliberate, orchestrated policy designed to force people to spend rather than save, keeping the consumer economy limping along for now while destroying any chance of building long-term financial security for the masses. This entire economic nightmare is a deliberate, silent war, a massive wealth transfer. What we are witnessing isn't just an economic crisis, it is the largest, most aggressive transfer of wealth from the middle and working classes to the ultra-wealthy in British history. And it is happening right in front of your eyes. The generational wealth gap has absolutely exploded to levels that were unthinkable just a decade ago. The over 60s now control 78% of all wealth, while the under 40s own less than 4%. This isn't because older generations worked harder or saved more, it's because they benefited from affordable housing, genuinely free education, and genuine wage growth, a foundation that has been systematically and callously denied to everyone who came after. The middle class is not merely struggling, it is being deliberately eliminated, crushed between relentlessly rising costs and wages that have been stagnant for a decade, until they fall into the expanding, desperate pool of the working poor. Government policies aren't failing to address this, they are actively accelerating it. Every single budget and policy announcement seems designed to protect asset values for the already wealthy while extracting maximum financial value from everyone else who relies on a paycheck. Property owners are now seeing their paper wealth increase by more each year than most people earn in a lifetime of work, creating a savage, two-tier society where your economic fate is determined entirely by whether you own assets or work for wages. The stock market reaches new, lofty highs while real wages fall to new lows, only benefiting the tiny percentage of the population with significant investment portfolios while everyone else gets visibly poorer. This isn't a shadowy conspiracy theory whispered in the dark. It is meticulously documented in the government's own statistics, hidden in plain sight for anyone brave enough to look past the carefully crafted headlines and examine the true numbers. And all of these individual catastrophes are about to collide in a single, terrifying moment, the economic bloodbath of 2025. The year 2025 is shaping up to be an economic bloodbath that will fundamentally reshape British society, and the warning signs are absolutely everywhere for those who are paying attention. The tax increases already confirmed for April will extract an additional £47 billion from household budgets that are already stretched to breaking point, with national insurance, council tax, and various stealth taxes all rising simultaneously. Public services are being quietly gutted behind the scenes, with the NHS preparing to cut essential services that people have relied on for generations, while education budgets face real terms cuts of 15% over the next 3 years. The British pound is showing undeniable signs of serious, structural weakness against major currencies, setting the stage for a devaluation that could trigger an inflationary spiral reminiscent of the 1970s, but potentially much, much worse given the debt load. International investors, the smart money, are quietly pulling capital out of Britain at the fastest rate since the Brexit referendum, sensing that the economic fundamentals are deteriorating beyond any repair. The commercial property market is collapsing even faster than residential, with office values down 35% and retail properties becoming literally unsellable as businesses fail at record rates. We are seeing serious discussions at a governmental level about energy blackouts for the first time since the 1970s, as our creaking, neglected infrastructure struggles to cope with demand it can no longer reliably meet. Major corporations are accelerating their exodus from Britain, taking jobs, tax revenue, and vital economic activity with them to more stable countries that offer better prospects for growth. The convergence of all these factors isn't just creating a severe recession, it is actively engineering a complete and total transformation of British society into something almost unrecognizable from what previous generations built and enjoyed. So, what does this all mean for the social contract? It means that contract is dead. The social contract, the unwritten promise that if you worked hard, saved your money, and played by the rules, you could build a decent life for yourself and your children, has been completely and utterly shattered beyond repair. We are entering an era where a small, hyper-privileged elite will control virtually everything, while the vast majority struggle simply to survive, dependent on government support that becomes increasingly inadequate and conditional. The Britain your children will inherit will not be the land of opportunity and fairness that once defined our national character. It will be a place where your birth circumstances determine your entire life trajectory, with almost no possibility of improvement or upward mobility. The housing crisis, the employment catastrophe, and the savings destruction we are seeing now are not the main event. They are just the opening acts of a much larger economic tragedy that will play out over the coming years. There are ways to protect yourself: strategic investment in hard assets, developing multiple, location-independent income streams, and potentially looking at opportunities outside the UK entirely. But the window for taking meaningful action is closing rapidly. The most important thing you can do right now is stay ruthlessly informed about what is really happening, not the sanitized, feel-good version presented by mainstream media, but the harsh reality that will determine your family's financial future. If you want to stay ahead of these massive, terrifying changes and get the real story about Britain's economic collapse as it unfolds, make sure you've subscribed to this channel and hit that notification bell. Because when the real crisis hits, and it will hit soon, being informed won't just be helpful. It might be the difference between surviving and losing everything you've ever worked for.